perfect bodies. Wish I didn't care. I know their beauty. I know that beauty is not my lack, but it feels like that weight is on my back. Um, there are so many people that will benefit from hearing this message from a megastar like her. Like straight up fuck Instagram. Her critique of social media and Insta models is cleverly done, suggesting jealousy started following me. The meaning of this song rang a bit more hollow when I saw a headline about the influencer boxes that were done for this album being sent to the Kardashians and the like. It's not a criticism that you can level at Olivia herself. It was a PR company that would have organized that, but like we mentioned with Gojira, I'm very much a believer in if you want to sort out an issue, you have to start at home, and not just follow the pack on something like this. You know, Gojira were a fantastic example of actions speak louder than words here. It's a wonderful message. I don't think it detracts from that. It's just a little bit disappointing to be seeing that, and probably from outlets that are, you know, TMZ-esque, or posting a lot of that stuff up, but you don't have to
I
feed
took a
that
different
machine.
meaning to this song. No, I took a completely different meaning to this song, to be honest with you, man. I kind of felt like it wasn't a fuck Instagram. By the way, go follow our Instagram because I post on it all the
Nah, fuck
time.
Instagram.
But
But yeah, follow us.
it wasn't a kind of it wasn't it wasn't a kind of that kind of thing. I think what this song was really saying and what I picked up on was that I see these things and it makes me feel bad about myself. But and I think that line is their beauty is not my lack. So it's more about just because they're really beautiful and it's fine and it's really great, that doesn't actually make me any less of a valid person sort of thing.
Mm,
And I think that's the takeaway message. It's not a kind of rallying cry against influencers or whoever. It's more of a that shouldn't make me feel worth less. That's fine, but that shouldn't, it's a difficult thing to separate. So I think it was more about her kind of geeing herself up to say it's okay that people are more beautiful than you or more talented than you. Kind of feels ridiculous for a person as good a vocalist to say that kind of thing. People out there are more talented than me or whatever. But I felt it was that kind of message that was coming from this song.
you're right. Their beauty. Sorry, that was a typo over in my notes there. Yeah, you know, I think, you know, maybe it's the message that I wanted to hear because I'm very much fuck Instagram more generally. Um, I think you can
From
probably
our Instagram.
yeah, apart from our Instagram, which is great, and I think doesn't share body shaming or body positivity imagery on it, as far as I'm aware. But you know, there is a lot, I think, that is a very direct critique of social media and the influence that it has on young women throughout this track. You know, just looking down here, it's things like, you know, I want to be you so bad, I don't even know you. All I see is what I should be, happier, prettier, jealousy, jealousy. And, you know, talking about I'm losing it. It's very much like kind of that spiral of getting into your phone and seeing all of this stuff and just seeing fucking filters and edited pictures out the wazoo when, like, you know, she mentions makeup in a few songs here. It's not mentioned explicitly within this song about, you know, trying to make yourself something for someone else. And you get a lot of that, I think, coming through in this track too. But
I don't know because we've spoken about Misery Business on this stream, and there's a lot of controversy around that song, because of the line "Once a whore, you're nothing more. Sorry, that will never change." And I think there's a lot of uh, I'm not going to speak for women everywhere here, so please don't mistake it for that. But I think there's a lot of kind of reevaluation of women's relationships to other women in the sense of I'm not gonna call someone a whore anymore, kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? Or I'm not gonna judge someone for wearing makeup, or I'm not gonna judge someone for being more beautiful than me and slut shame them or whatever you want to say about it. So I kind of took it to be along those lines where she's saying, I feel this way because I see people and I don't feel as beautiful as them or whatever, but I'm not gonna kind of go down that path and denigrate them for it. I'm gonna take it into me. I don't like feeling that way, and it's jealousy, but it it is what it is. And that's, I think, the key line in this song is their beauty is not my lack. And I think that's kind of what that's hinting at there. So I don't know. That's the meaning I took from it. I'm not Olivia Rodrigo, so I'm not gonna put words into her mouth or anything like that. But for me, that was yeah, I know. Yeah, I could
Brad,
have fooled everyone, but
I
Yeah, are
can't
you
believe
not?
it's
Oh,
taken
no.
till now. I need to rename the fucking stream. This is Interview with Olivia Rodrigo about this album. I'm shocked. How could you?
Exactly,
so
man.
sorry.
Like,
But
you
yeah,
had us fooled for so long. I think it was kind of inevitable that we would have come to this point, and I've avoided it until now because I didn't want to sound like an old man talking down to younger generations. But I think we were very lucky in our generation to kind of avoid the brunt of what is social media, and considering like how much influence and how much kind of effect it's had on like the generation that's come immediately after us. um it is talked about in this album, like in a few points, right from the off. It's obvious that there are references to social media throughout, and it does play a huge part in young people's lives, like regardless of like gender or any of
Yeah.
that. Like, it plays a massive part in the younger generations younger than us. Like, their whole lives are massively influenced by social media, so it's not surprising to hear it talked about quite overtly. um I took it the way you did, I think, Matt, as a kind of fuck you to that. The line you've mentioned, Cameron, has possibly made me reevaluate slightly. um Again, what you were saying, Matt, earlier, like, does it ring a bit hollow? uh, does it ring a bit hollow? I don't know. Could you feasibly these days release an album and kind of simultaneously piss off every social media vendor and outlet out there by telling them that they're trash? You know, is that going to be shooting yourself in the foot if you're trying to release a successful album? I feel like it possibly would be a little bit.
Yeah.
How can you, as a emerging young, especially, unfortunately, it is unfortunate that it is this way, but especially as a female artist, to come out and just like universally slam all social media, I think that would probably hurt you more than it would help you, unfortunately.
it's the Spotify argument, right? It's the I don't like this platform, but my music's on this platform, right? We don't have a choice in that, because if you don't put music on Spotify, not that anybody listens to our music anyway, people won't listen to it if you're not on those platforms. Um, and so if it isn't the way I took it, and if it is the meaning that you took it, or both of you took it, I don't know. I much feel much more comfortable if three women were having this discussion than us. But if it wasn't that way, then I still don't think it's hollow, because I just don't think you have a choice these days. You are forced into late stage capitalism, and good on Olivia Rodrigo for calling it out if that is the case.
Yeah.
Yeah, even lightly slamming it is probably a very bold move, considering it's going to have such an impact on your success.
No doubt, and I don't think again it's not a criticism that I think you can lay at her door, because she wasn't the one sending these boxes out or anything like that, and I think that the way that you talk about this on somebody who is young and releasing their debut album is very different to somebody who is, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 albums down the line. Actions speak louder than words at the end of the day. And, you can top the charts and do all of that stuff. And, whether you'd be able to do that sans a Spotify. And again, I really want to make sure this is properly framed. This is not a criticism of her. I think this is just a really interesting discussion point at this point. So, treat what I'm saying here more as a hypothetical. But, you can, if you don't go down that route, right? If you don't use an Instagram, if you don't use a Spotify, if you don't use that, you're not going to top the charts and things like that. But it's about what you're here to do in music. And, if you're there to spread a message, then maybe you feel more comfortable doing something like that, knowing that you're not going to hit the charts. Fantastic, by the way. It was a very different era. I was listening to the aforementioned Radio 4 this morning. They had an interview from the gent from Frankie Goes to Hollywood, and he had a really good segment on the Today program, and it was all about how Relax was banned from the BBC airwaves, and yet still managed to top the charts. Other tracks ended up outselling it. Go and check that interview out. Really, really well worth it. And, again, not a song that was taking a stand. It was, a very different time, I think, musically, where, you could listen to something and the BBC would say, oh, no, this does not fit. I've gone off on some tangents here, but, I think it's actions versus words. Regardless of any of that, this song, I think, whether you take Cam's meaning, whether you take the meaning that I've taken out of it, fantastic message. It's great to hear somebody with her position communicating it, whatever's happening outside of it.
The one last thing I'll say on the social media thing, I mean, just caveat, I still think I'm right about the meaning. But anyway, if it is the social media thing, just look at what TikTok's done for the Wellerman guy, the sea shanty guy. I mean, he has a deal with UMG just from having one song on TikTok land huge.
Yeah.
There's no doubt to me that Driver's License became huge because of TikTok, and that's the if you're not on these platforms, you don't make it. There's a really interesting article. I feel like we're just pumping articles at the moment about how one of Megan Thee Stallion's songs was not chosen to be a single. I think it's Savage wasn't chosen to be a single, but TikTok said, let's use this and promote this and make it viral on the platform. Savage was one of the hugest, biggest songs of last year. You would have heard it if you'd put on the radio at any point or gone on TikTok, not the do very often. So be in no doubt of the stranglehold that these platforms, Spotify, TikTok, Instagram, etc., have over whether you become a nobody or whether you become a somebody. And I just don't think you've got a choice. There are certain actions you can make. It's easy for Gojira to support the Amazon who doesn't support the Amazon. It's not a particularly controversial thing to support or go against. If you're a major label artist and you're trying to rally against these things, you can say what you want, but to actually not use these platforms when they basically have a monopoly over your life is virtually impossible.
I would
especially as an emerging artist. If you are maybe a bit more established, then maybe you can take a bit more of a stand, and you know that you have a following that will back you anyway. But as an emerging artist specifically, I don't honestly know how much these companies interfere in it, but I imagine if you're trying to reach multi millions of people and your song is saying fuck TikTok, then TikTok probably not going to look particularly kindly on it.
I would like to think, this is going to be my last word on this. We've spent too long here. I would like to think that there are enough major label artists that would wish to stand with the families of young people who aren't here anymore, thanks to the body shaming, body positivity style hashtags that have been spoken about so much with an Instagram and a TikTok, things like that. Messages are very important. Messages are very, very important. This song is a very strong message. And I still think it aligns itself with that there. But anyway, we've spoken a lot about jealousy. Rightly so. Let's move on to favorite crime. I wrote this down in my notes. This feels like a terrible way to roll out of what we were just talking about. It's the penultimate track on the album. Brad, I have to ask, what's your favorite crime?
Wow, how are we gonna keep this safe for fucking
Regicide.
YouTube history?
Regicide.
What's my favorite crime? Jaywalking?
That's good. Yeah.
Yeah? Is that acceptable?
Perfect.
Okay, good. Let's move on. Cameron, what's your favorite crime?
What's the eating the rich? That's my favorite. Pure cannibalism, but only for billionaires.
I scribbled down regicide, so I think not too far off there. Yeah.
Yeah, regicide's good too. Kill them all. We're gonna get taken.
See you
off of
later,
Twitch
ad
now.
revenue. We're off of Instagram. We're off of Twitch. Everything else. Olivia's spanned a few genres across this album. When you look back at it, and this track, I think, actually even has a bit of a folky quality to it. That's something that mainstream pop hasn't been afraid to dip its toe into in recent memory, but it fits quite nicely here.
I got more of a country feel, to be honest with you. No, I got more of a country vibe than a folky thing, but I definitely see what you're saying. This song, actually, even just thinking about it right now, gives me goosebumps. This song is phenomenal. It's actually incredible. I mean, the backing vocals on the main vocal in the last chorus, I think might be some of the best backing vocals I've ever heard in my entire life. They are absolutely sensational. And it just in the first chorus as well, and then you amp that up, and I didn't think that was possible from that. It's you could almost just talk about the backing vocals alone. Anybody watching, listen to this song for an absolute masterclass in how to do a backing vocal, because it's just phenomenal. This song could almost pass you by, but when they hit, and my god, do they hit? It invokes that feeling that special music makes you feel.
There's something very kind of, I think, ingrained in a lot of American vocalists, specifically that kind of country root in there. And it always used to be really great singers that have that kind of grounding. But if you look at Miley, like, her voice, lends itself so well to that country back catalogue. And Tasteway, obviously, like, massive in country before pop. It's the fingerstyle kind of guitar. It's super stripped back. It's mostly through this song guitar vocals and backing vocals. Again, like, you have to have the voice to pull this kind of song off, and it's not something that everyone can do. The great American artists that I've already mentioned, Miley, Tasteway, can pull it off, and to kind of sit in there with those as like a debut album and be like, you can play this alongside Miley Cyrus singing a similar song or Taylor Swift singing a similar song, and it wouldn't feel out of place, or it wouldn't feel like a debut album song, which is pretty astounding, really.
You guys have covered it off perfectly, I think. The Miley Cyrus and Taylor Swift sort of connotations and things. I haven't been great at being able, I think, to pick up a lot of influences throughout this album. I've spoken about how limited my my pop knowledge is, especially of late. But those were both things I was able to pull through here. Cam, backing vocals, and that piano laden chorus. It's just wonderful. Really, really nice stuff. A song with very little to criticize. I think very, very little to criticize here. And as many of them have been to this point. I wonder whether I'd feel stronger about it if it came earlier on. Again, just whether there's a few songs that are like this. I still think it's stand out enough because of those moments. But yeah, I've almost wondered about listening to this album back to front and seeing if that changes up how I feel about this song.
For me, this is the best song on the album. I know I think I might have said that about Deja Vu earlier. This is the actual best song on the album for me. And on the first listen, sorry, on before the chorus hit, I was on the verge of writing another slow ballad. It's kind of boring, but I've said it before. When those backing vocals hit in, it's like a lifting effect on you. Like you feel like you're flying. It's incredible. Um, th- there's few vocalists in the world that can do that. Brad's named a couple there. Um, mm, but I'm not even sure they could write a backing vocal that good, a harmony that good, a melody that good for the chorus. I mean, they've written good ones between them, no doubt. Massive fan of both of them, but that really was something special. It felt like an instant classic to me. In the pantheon of great songs out there. We spoke a lot about the chant on the Gojira album, and this felt like that moment on this album for me. Um, didn't have the Fortitude intro into it, which didn't quite make it hit as hard on the early part of it. But yeah, those chorus vocals just. I mean, I want to end this stream now and just go listen to those chorus vocals. And Matt, I want you to go away and learn how to do that. And just all this sort of stuff because it's just absolutely sensational.
It's funny how you like it after mentioning the artists that we've both mentioned. Kind of strange there, but yeah, it's just another great example of kind of harkening back to a great American tradition. I think no one quite does it the same as that Nashville sound. It's just like always will be unique and kind of phenomenal. Yeah.
Tennessee, yeah. Look, with that, we come to our closer. Hope you're okay. Cam, why don't you help bring us home here? You felt very strongly about Favorite Crime. How you feeling about Hope You're Okay?
A nice ending with some really smart lyrical themes. I think that's the big takeaway here. It's got a lot of heart and a lot of emotion. Some lyrics that I could only dream of writing. Her parents cared more about the Bible than taking care of their own child. It's just phenomenal. That's a great line, and hits so deeply. Even though I've never even experienced anything close to that, felt that moment. Which I've seen a lot on social media about people, screaming out the lyrics to Brutal and, I'm so sick of 17. That does not resonate with me in any way because why would it? I'm 10 years beyond that sort of thing. So I think it would be a bit weird. But these lines really do. Does she know how proud I am that she was created with the courage to unlearn all of their hatred? I mean, it's just. I, Again, I really don't want to do this because I think it's so condescending to mention her age in this. But how do you write lyrics like that at 18 with that emotional kind of weight to it? Phenomenal. Really good. This song is actually the biggest Taylor Swift inspired moment for me on the entire album. It sounds quite a lot like Blank Space, in the chorus, especially. It's kind of out of nowhere, if you go back and listen to that song, it's got a real Taylor Swift vibe. Soft outro, but it fits nicely with the emotional themes and the journey that she's tried to present through this album. And the piano outro with the kind of muffled talking, I'm a sucker for that kind of stuff. Kind of actually made me think of Sweater Song by Weezer a little bit, just because it had talking and that kind of thing. But yeah,
Hey,
I think
Bob.
I could almost not remember much of the music from this. Yeah, I could almost not remember much of the music from this, because the this is the smartest lyrics on the album by a long way, and just yeah,
I don't.
not much more you can say.
I really don't think that you sound um, condescending when you mention her age in relation to just how smart these lyrics are or anything like that. I had a conversation with my wife earlier, and she actually incidentally had her last day working at a school today. Congratulations, so proud of you. But we spoke about some of the lyrical themes throughout this album, right? And we spoke about the Instagram thing that I was talking about. We spoke about the gaslighting, and we spoke about this song as well. And my overwhelming feeling that I get from this, and from talking to her about the experiences she's had working with kids that aren't far off this age. And again, sorry, I mean, not to say that Olivia is a kid or anything like that, right? But that generation's going to be okay. To be able to talk so smartly and so sensitively, I think, and this is something that you tend to find, I think, with that generation. We look to our parents' generation and they talk about like, oh, you're these woke kids these days and things like that. This is filtered down past us. This is just like, you know, this is how high school age kids talk these days. They understand that family is blood and nothing more than that. You don't have to love your parents because of the way that they treat you. And to hear Olivia talking about that, right? About regardless of that, regardless of what her middle school friend experienced, she loves her. She is so proud of her, and the fact that she was created with all of that love and strength. Absolutely phenomenal. What a wonderful, wonderful message. And like you said, Cam, I'm lucky. I have a great relationship with my parents. Um, a lot of other people don't, but I still got that huge emotional payoff that I spoke about. We didn't get that with the closer this week. It really happens here. It's so well done, and this is where I go back to Creeper, right? I think about our trips to Creeper shows, and I think about when they closed out with Misery, and I think about all of the teenagers on each other's shoulders screaming out every last breath on that song, and all of us feeling a little bit uncomfortable. But I get the impression that Hope You're Okay will be an anthem to so many in that same way, right? And would expect a similar scene at her concerts.
Yeah, 100%. I think the best thing about this song lyrically is it's just all packaged in a sweet message to her friends about how she misses them,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and it's like, oh, I miss my friend, but I'm gonna say this about them, and this is just this absolutely incredible thing. I I couldn't even think this way when I was her age. Not not to say sorry, I wasn't thinking the opposite way, but I mean these weren't issues or something that I would ever have even conceived of. And for her to be writing them on a major album, to be putting them in, it's so easy to be kind of ham-fisted with lyrical themes like this, to be on the nose and do it in an awkward, clumsy way. But they're just, but the last two songs in this album just honestly blow my mind. They really do. They're it should not happen. It should not be written by someone of this age. The fact that they're not singles, I kind of understand, but yeah, they're absolutely incredible.
I think this song does a lot for the album in a fair few ways. I think there's a lot of kind of sonically tying things up. You've got kind of sounds coming back that we've heard before. You've got those distant, kind of almost cinematic drums coming back through here. You've got some chimey kind of sounds we've heard on previous songs. Like I think I can't remember what you've referred to them on, but there was one track. You've got dirty piano, big percussion. It even goes back to driver's license. You've got electric piano, kind of playing a pedal note that kind of jogs your memory back to that. Lyrically, it does a lot of tying up as well. I've talked a couple of times about things that would possibly resonate more with the American audience. And I think this is kind of another case of that in a way. Like you're talking about, loving the Bible more than you love your child or whatever, and that's possibly more of an issue in America than it would be here. It's obviously still an issue here, but the thing is, it just kind of hammers home how much it resonates anyway with like us as well. You keep saying like the age gap and like, oh, how can she write this when she's so young? I mean, that's a very kind of over exaggerated example of what you said, but I think there are so many themes on this that would resonate with so many people. And I think overall the message is massively positive, massively good, massively good messages to be getting out, and this kind of just ties that up really beautifully.
Yeah, I think the other thing is it's not so much her age that surprises me. It's just I remember being 18, and obviously it's 10 years ago. It's not like a million years ago or whatever. I just could never have even conceived of doing something like this. I don't know about you two, or writing lyrics like this, or yada yada yada. I think that's the thing that blows me away the most is just okay, well, where's she gonna be in 10 years' time? Because if this is what she can do now, she's only gonna get better as a songwriter with more experience, as a lyric writer with more experience, as a musician with more experience. It's a really exciting introduction to Olivia Rodrigo, and something I'm only just realizing when you're kind of talking about it there, Brad, is that this really is a tying up of the themes of the album as well, because obviously she said a lot of hatred, a lot of anger, and a lot of sadness, and a lot of emotion on this record, and kind of part of me now thinks that maybe she's talking about, I'm proud of you for learning to unlearn all that hatred. You know what I mean? But maybe that's kind of a reflection on what she's had to learn to do now. I've had to learn how to do that, and you're an inspiration for that or whatever. It's phenomenal. I could talk about it for hours. Really good. It's absolutely incredible.
You flagged it earlier. You said, as I'm talking about this stuff, I'm recognizing that this is the stages of grief, right? And that is the last one there. So I think that was a very astute observation. Look, you've said we could talk for hours about this as well. We have to this point. We're gonna move on to our sum up discussion here. I'm just going to remind you guys that we have gone for longer than we have for any stream to this point. So if we could just try and keep it brief, that would be fantastic. But Brad, tell me, what did you think of Sour?
First listen, I thought there were too many ballads. The second listen, I kind of started to like the ballads more, and probably third and fourth listens, some of the ballady bits are the standout moments, but it's just broken up with enough like groovy and kind of hard hitting pop punky kind of tracks. There are some great throwbacks to alt rock sounds in there. I think I even heard the exact guitar tone from Brain Stew at some point during this album. I'm pretty sure that that guitar tone is on this record. Um, it's amazing. It's a really well done album. I'm not going to mention anything to do with age because it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter here. It wouldn't matter if this was a like massively established artist who'd been doing it for years. This would still be a great album, no matter what.
Yeah,
Yeah,
sorry, man, you go ahead.
go on. I was just gonna say, yeah, I completely agree with everything you said, and I think if Gojira hadn't released an album this year that I still listen to every week, and it's been 3 weeks out now, and we don't have a lot of time to listen to other music that isn't the music we're doing that week. Um, it would be easily my album of the year. Um, I don't think it goes into my rotation in terms of an album. I think there are songs that are going into my rotation for sure. Those last two in particular, the Paramore song, "Good for You." Sorry, I've forgotten what the name was. But I'm really excited to see what she does next. I'm really, 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 really excited to see what she does next because, like I said, I think she's only going to get better. I think a lot of this album isn't aimed at me, which is fine because why would it be? So it's kind of hard to get super super into it as a thing I want to listen to regularly. But I just I think she's gonna dominate in a way that Billie Eilish has dominated for the last few years, and is now releasing some of the all-time great pop music. And I think it's gonna be those two at the top for the foreseeable future, along with the likes of Taylor Swift.
Yeah. I mean, where to start? I think there's elements of all of that I want to hit on. I think you maybe think about this in a debut as a debut in a slightly different way than we thought about Slope's debut album, just purely by dint of the weight of the machinery that's behind it. But I none of that takes away, I think, from what a fantastic debut this is, for a lot of different reasons. And as you say, very excited to see where she goes with it next. You both mentioned it. A lot of the commentary that I have seen surrounding this album has been, if it's coming from people our age, it's been like, hey, what a cute, eerie reminder of, teenage years this is. And, some of those things I spoke about earlier. I just want to go back and shake her and things like that. But I think if you take that approach, you seriously risk, being unintentionally quite reductive about a lot of the lyrical themes that she's hitting on here. And it's some real serious subject matter, and it takes some balls, I think, for any artist to speak about some of this stuff, and she has done it phenomenally well. I don't think any of the other Disney alums that we spoke about off the top would have been able to, or would have taken on this type of subject matter on their debut album at age 18. And again, I appreciate there's some of those albums that I haven't listened to. There's going to be a lot of young women and men that are going to listen to this album, see themselves in these situations, and feel like it really resonates with them. That is important. There are moments that I recognize. Very few of them cut through to me personally. I think the biggest takeaway that I have from this album is that this is exactly why I would be terrified to be a parent these days, because my God, are teenage boys just fucking horrific in their treatment of teenage girls. This is going to be a lot of people's favorite album. It's not mine. There are enough tracks that don't hit for me in a way to say that I don't think this hits my rotation in the same way as you, Cam. But yeah, there are some incredible songs on this record. I love One Step Forward, Three Back. It's unbelievable. And like I said, avid supporter of pop artists exploring pop punk influences. More of this. More of this. So,
Yeah, don't think you could have summed it up any better, to be honest with you, and that's perfect.
well, why don't we put Sour behind us then? And let's look ahead to next week. I did get a chance today to listen to the first handful of tracks on the new Blackberry Smoke album. Alas, I don't think we're planning on a heavier dose of country for next week, are we?
Well, a small technicality, but I don't think we can do the new Black Midi album because it actually came out on Wednesday and not today. No, we're doing the Black Midi album. There's no questions there. I don't care that it came out on Wednesday. It's still a full album. It's still released in the previous week. And that band, on their previous release, Schlagenheim, were pretty much phenomenal. So I'm really excited for this one.
So no matter what, Cameron is doing the Black Midi album, even if me and you, Matt, do completely different albums.
It's right fucking there. I say it at the start every week. We listened to an album that came out the previous Friday. You could have gotten a head start on this and everything. I don't know. No, well up for
To be fair, I only just found out that it came out on Wednesday, and because I was looking it up, I was like, "Shit, is this Black Midi week?" I was looking up the date, and I was like, "Okay, it was released on Wednesday for some reason, but it was scheduled to be released today."
That
Who knows?
band don't do a great deal of things by the numbers, so that does not surprise me, and I think that is why I would still be happy to do Black Midi, even if that Blackberry Smoke album is great. We'll bend the rules a little bit here for Black Midi next week, but that's next week. I think we're at about wrap up time here tonight. We sticking around for a little bit of something post stream here, guys.
Yeah, we're gonna raid.
Fantastic. So if you're with us live here on Twitch, stick around after we say goodbye for some post-stream fun. But if you have missed any of this discussion or want to hear it again, we will have a recorded version of this going up on our YouTube channel on Sunday. If you're watching that recorded version, we'll be going live again next Friday at 8 p.m. GMT with another album review. Shout out once again to Millie Draws-A-Lot with a Y on Instagram for all of our wonderful graphics. If you want more Olivia Rodrigo, then head over to her website or just about any website on the internet because everybody is talking about this album, and quite rightly so. If you want more Ballpark music, follow us on Twitch, subscribe to us, and hit the bell on YouTube, and check out our link tree. That's /BallparkMusicUK, where you can find all of our socials. Cam, long one, but did you enjoy it tonight?
Yeah, I loved it. I thought it was an incredible album. Really enjoyed talking about it.
Brad stayed with us throughout. You had a quick break, but you enjoyed too.
Yeah, I'm not sure how we talked for longer about this than we did Gojira, but here we are 2.5 hours later.
Done it.
It's been great.
Done it, and then some. I tell you what, I think I need my break as well, but I have had a lot of fun tonight. We will see you all next time. Stay safe.